Sir, go ahead.
Hi, my name's Peter.
Hey, Peter.
It's great to meet you.
You too, sir.
I'm a bit nervous. Sorry.
By the way, this is like the third Apostle Peter we've seen.
Well, that Peter's my son. So.
Oh, all right. Which Peter?
What?
Which Peter?
Yeah.
Oh, all right. Oh, okay. It's the whole family's asking questions now. Yes, go ahead, sir.
I told him they had to have a question when we came. So.
Yes, sir. Go ahead.
So, actually, it's kind of like, I kind of have two questions. But
go ahead.
The first one is, if you're a Christian and you want to have a family, and you're risking your child not becoming a believer, so why would you have kids to begin with?
Is having children worth the risk if they might reject God and spend eternity in hell? As Christians, we long to see our children walk in faith, but what if they don't? This question cuts to the core of parental anxiety, divine justice, and the purpose of free will. In today's video, Frank Turek tackles this emotionally charged issue, explaining why God commands us to have children despite the risks. But does his answer fully address the complexities of raising kids in a fallen world? Stick around as we break down Frank's response and dig deeper into the biblical foundation of parental responsibility, divine sovereignty, and how God's love pursues even the prodigal.
Because God tells us to have kids, and secondly, justice is still a good thing. Even if they are not saved ultimately, they've made their choice. We don't want them to get justice, but justice is still a good thing.
So you would have kids to begin with because it's a command?
Of course it's a command. We wouldn't be here if we didn't obey the command, right?
Okay.
And God gives us free will because free will is the only way we can love. If we don't have free will, then we're robots, and then we're not this immoral world anymore. So God gives us free will, which opens up the possibility we can do evil, but it also allows the possibility for love. Right. And love is worth risking rejection.
Okay. And the second, because I've watched a lot of your videos, when's the last time somebody had an original question you hadn't heard before?
My wife has them every day.
No, I mean in like this scenario. Like
there's always nuances to questions. You know, I mean, you get similar questions over and over again, but there's always nuances to questions. In fact, I think if you had to categorize questions, we have them on our app, the Cross-Examined app. In addition to the 4 questions we went through to show that Christianity is true, if you say Christianity is true, you're going to get 4 objections that are in these 4 categories. I should say 4 categories of objection. They all begin with the letter E. You're going to get questions on evolution, like we already had. You're going to get questions on ethics, like, you know, what about God killing the Canaanites or slavery or LGBTQ issues or whatever. You're going to get questions on evil. If there's a good God, why is there evil? And you're going to get questions on eternity, like we had today about, well, why would God create people he knew would go to hell? Most of the questions that you're going to get are in one of those 4 categories, variations of those 4 questions. All right?
Okay. Thank you.
Thanks, Peter. All right.
Frank Turek correctly states that having children is a divine command, Genesis 1 verse 28, and that free will is necessary for love. However, we need to explore what Scripture says about raising children, the promises of God, and how divine justice interacts with human choice. Keycap 1 God's command to have children and raise them in faith. The Bible is clear. Children are a blessing, not a curse. Psalm 127 verses 3-5 says, "Children are a heritage from the Lord, offspring a reward from him." God doesn't just command us to have children but to raise them in faith. Deuteronomy 6 verses 6-7, Ephesians 6 verse 4. Parents play a vital role in shaping their children's beliefs, but salvation is ultimately God's work. John 6 verse 44. While Proverbs 22 verse 6 states, "Train up a child in the way he should go, and when he is old he will not depart from it," this is a principle, not a guaranteed promise. Keycap 2 Can Christian parents trust God with their children's salvation? God's love extends even to the prodigal, Luke 15 verses 11-32. He actively pursues the lost. Even if a child strays, God is not done working in their lives, Philippians 1 verse 6. Many great Christian leaders, C.S. Lewis, St. Augustine, once rejected God but later returned. Christian parents must pray and trust in God's sovereignty, knowing he is more invested in their children's salvation than they are, 2 Peter 3 verse 9. Keycap 3 What about the reality of hell? Hell is the result of rejected grace, not God's cruelty. 2 Thessalonians 1 verses 8-9 states, "He will punish those who do not know God and do not obey the gospel." However, every child has a chance to respond to God, Romans 1 verse 20. Our role is to guide them toward Christ. Is it worth the risk? Absolutely. Life is not about minimizing risk but fulfilling God's purpose. We do not let fear dictate obedience, 2 Timothy 1 verse 7. Just as God created mankind despite knowing many would reject him, we are called to trust in his sovereignty and raise children in faith. Books for further reading. Open book Bringing Up Boys, Dr. James Dobson, Practical Biblical Parenting Advice for Raising Strong, Faithful Sons. Open book The Case for Faith, Lee Strobel, addresses tough questions including why God allows some to reject him. Open book The Problem of Pain, C.S. Lewis, a deep dive into suffering, free will, and God's justice. Open book Parenting, 14 Gospel Principles That Can Radically Change Your Family, Paul David Tripp, explores how the gospel shapes parenting. Do you struggle with the fear that your children may not believe? How do you trust God in parenting? Let us know in the comments. Don't forget to like, subscribe, and hit the bell for more deep dive apologetic content.